All right,
Sweet.
I think we're good.
All right.
Should we clap on in?
Yeah, let's do it. Good luck.
On three.
On three. You count.
1, 2.
I nailed it from my end.
It looks like I clapped first and then on my end for some reason.
I don't know. It's weird. One of these days I'm going to draw a diagram and figure out how that can be. I'm sure it makes sense. Right now it doesn't. Are you ready?
Oh, no, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Welcome back to Absolutely the Best Podcast, a work in progress. I'm Zach. With me, as always, is my good friend George.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going okay.
All
It's
right.
going okay. Tax season ended last week.
I just started mine today.
Oh, you extended it?
I get an automatic extension because we were in the disaster zone or whatever.
Right.
What it's called? Yeah.
Yeah. Lucky you.
I still got to do them.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I might as well put this in. I can cut it out if I don't like it later. But we do have one new listener, a new country for a new listener anyway. This time it's Hungary. And I looked into how to say hello or something like that in Hungarian, and it looked really difficult. So I'm not gonna embarrass myself. But what's up, person in Hungary?
Hey.
Glad to have you. I gotta tell you, I'm pumped for this one. This was a really, really good movie.
I'm excited.
Yeah. This is Series 1, Episode 9 of the podcast, and today we're talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. After we discuss the movie, we'll figure out where to place it in the MCU ranking. And as a reminder, we assume that you have seen the movie before and or do not mind spoilers. And normally I would be like, it's okay if you haven't seen it before and you want to spoil it. But if you think that you might like any Marvel movie, even the slightest bit, I would insist you watch this one first. Like, this one is, I don't even think you need to watch maybe any of the other ones before this. Maybe the first Captain America, maybe the first Avengers, but I think you could watch this one cold. It's kind of a standalone. I mean, it's not meant to be standalone, but I think you can watch it standalone and not miss out on anything. What do you think?
I mean, I still think the first Avenger helps.
Yeah, for sure. But there's there's enough recap in here, I think, where you'd be all right. And certainly if you listen to our episode on the first Avenger, if you haven't watched them all, though, I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast. But if you are, great. I mean,
Seriously.
That's not a complaint. Do you want to kick off the initial thoughts?
I went first last time. You
That's
can go
okay.
this time.
All right. But don't let me skip over you because I had it the other way in the notes. All right.
Okay.
I remember when this came out, I was pretty wary about the movie. We had just had the third Iron Man, which was really bad. And then the second Thor, which was not exactly good. And now we're getting the second Captain America movie. So I was a little bit like, I don't know if another sequel is the right thing right now. So I actually waited about a month to see it. And even though the reviews were good, because the reviews are glowing on Iron Man 3, so that didn't mean anything to me. And I'm sure I was kicking myself after seeing it, for having waited so long, because it's really, really good. But also, I never read the comics. I didn't know anything about the Winter Soldier, and like the name Captain America, the Winter Soldier, it sounded stupid to me. It doesn't anymore, but at the time, that was my thinking. The Winter Soldier is in the comics, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's Bucky.
It's Bucky, yeah.
Okay, so it was already spoiled for you.
Not really, because I mean, I think I might have mentioned it in the first Avenger. Like, Captain America wasn't really one of my favorite.
Okay, right.
Comic book characters, so he isn't really somebody that I followed pretty religiously compared to some of the other folks. Mm-hmm. So this whole thing's been awesome for me.
Well, and my understanding anyway is that they change things sometimes from the comics to the movies, and so I guess maybe there was no guarantee it was going to be Bucky.
Yeah.
So I guess you don't know why he's called the Winter Soldier. I was going to ask you that one.
I mean, I assume because he fell into
just
the
a cruel
snow
joke.
When he fell into the snow when he got knocked off that train in the first Avenger, right?
Yeah. Anyways, the first time I watched the movie, I had no idea that Bucky was the Winter Soldier before the reveal in the movie. So yeah, my more recent watch, given our recent Avengers coverage, I was a little worried that this one might not hold up because in my mind, Avengers was better than what it turned out to be with the more recent watch. Not bad, but not as good as I remember. This rewatch, there were a few little things that I picked up on, but in general, this movie is in a totally other league than what we've watched up until now. It's so good. I cannot recommend it enough. So
yeah,
I'm done sucking it off right now. If you want to go ahead,
I'll let you.
You want to take a turn? Yeah, I got to rest my jaw.
Yeah. If you want to get a napkin, yeah. I think for me, I was pretty excited to get to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually where I feel like the MCU hit its stride and just really picked up steam and really picked up momentum.
Yes.
Like after
100%.
the first Avenger was like such an awesome movie, and I went into this movie wanting to temper my expectations because I was really excited for it, given how good the first Avenger was. And I kind of knew, you saw from the trailers, the Winter Soldier's coming. This guy with a robotic arm. Who doesn't like guys with robotic arms, right? Like that's as badass as it gets. Cool. Yeah, like Colossus is one of my favorite X-Men, and he's just a full-on metal like dude, right? But holy shit, I was just not prepared to be blown away as much as I was. Like even rewatching it this has got to be like the 5th or 6th time.
Yeah, I've watched this one a number of times. It had been a long time since I'd seen it, but I certainly, when it was new, I think I saw it twice in the theater, and I've definitely watched it 2 or 3 times at home before this.
Right, and each time I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad that I used up that time to watch this movie. Like everything, like the fight scenes are just so brilliant to me. Like when Cap and Bucky are fighting, and Bucky is doing the knife work, and he's dropping the knife into his other hand and just slashing away. Like everything is so great. Like there's the attention to detail is just awesome.
And this movie moves quickly too. I think it's 2 hours and 15 minutes about, and like it doesn't feel like it. You don't feel that at all.
Yeah, not like there. I think some. What was the last movie that we said we felt like we were in trouble because we were like, oh shit.
It was like, Thor 2.
It was Thor 2.
It was like, I was like, okay, it's just starting to lose steam. I'm like, oh my God, it's not even halfway over.
Right. Yeah, and I didn't feel that at all, like anywhere in this movie. Like I think towards when it ended, I was like, oh man.
I could have used a little more, to be honest.
Yeah. So that I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with that, but yeah.
Okay, then let's move on to the main discussion. Captain America, The Winter Soldier is the 9th movie in the MCU series. It was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. Before this, they did some Arrested Development episodes. I don't know if they did them all. They definitely did a bunch. Some Community as well. After this, they also did Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Anything that I have actually seen that these guys directed, at the very least, I've liked it. They do good work, and a lot of it I love. Like, did you
like Gray Man on Netflix?
I did like it. It's not great. It's got problems, but it was entertaining. It was fun.
I mean, that's always going to be their problem now for me. Is like I'm going to be expecting Civil War type.
Yeah.
Caliber work. This
Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. I mean. What are you gonna do? You just got to retire after that, and
I know
you can't top it.
They just hit home run after home run.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you? This might be long, and I might have to cut it out. But did I ever tell you when I met Anthony Russo?
You did, but it's a good story. So you should tell it.
All right, should I tell it? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was around 2004, and there was a breakfast place my wife and I always went to. And always ordered the same things usually, one of 2 or 3 things that we really liked there. And this particular morning we were sitting outside. It was a nice day. I think it was kind of crowded inside. So we were sitting outside, and another couple was seated outside behind us, and they were asked for a breakfast recommendation. And I was like, pancakes are really good. Breakfast burritos are really good, and so on. And so we were talking to them a little bit while waiting for food, and he was like, oh, what do you do? And the guy's like, I forget exactly what he said. precisely, but he was like, oh, I'm a director, something like that. And I was, oh, anything that I might have seen. And he mentioned Arrested Development. And at the time, I had only ever seen one episode of that and didn't like it because I love David Cross. And I didn't initially like the character that he played in that, right? It's brilliant. Tobias Funke, right? I love it now. Like it's all great. But at the time, I wasn't a huge fan. And so I was like, oh, and I basically gave him that excuse. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't really watch it. I didn't care for the David Cross character. And he was like, oh, well, I'm moving on to this other thing. And he was talking about, he was moving on to a new TV show called LAX. And I remember seeing or hearing something about that. I think it's got Heather Locklear in it. Had Heather Locklear in it. I don't know. And I was just like, oh, and I had gotten his name too. This is not me just like assuming that it's the guy. But at some point we had exchanged names. And, but anyways, he said he was going to do LAX. And, when we left, I was like, hey, good luck with that show, buddy. And like, oh, I just felt in hindsight, I feel like such a jackass. I mean, he's obviously extremely successful and a very good director, but he was a super nice guy. He didn't take any offense to anything I had to say, and I could have been nicer.
You didn't add each other on Instagram?
No, there was no Instagram back then. Right, I think. Yeah. I should have given him my card. I wanted to be like, if you ever need a science consultant or something. I mean, probably nothing ever would have come of that anyway, but.
Hey, that would have been awesome. Yeah. Then maybe you would have gotten pulled into some of these gripes that you have.
I don't think I would win a single one of those battles because every one of them, they'd be like, nobody's going to care about that. Anyways, that's my Anthony Russo Santa Barbara story. The screenplay is by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. We've established that these guys rule for the most part. Captain America 1, Thor 2, this movie, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. They wrote all those and or co-wrote them. So main characters in Captain America 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier, whatever we want to call this. I might try to just call it Captain America 2 to keep it simple.
Sure.
Obviously, since this is a sequel, we have a lot of repeat performances, but we have some new ones too. For the good guys, Chris Evans returns as Steve Rogers / Captain America. This is the best he's been so far. The suit is better. His fighting is better. And, he's all around a good guy.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson returns as Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow. Same goes for her, I think. I think her fighting might even be better than in Iron Man 2. Like there's that long scene where she kicks like everyone's ass in the room except for one.
Yeah.
So like in terms of like the length of the fights, I think that was more in Iron Man 2, but she's got some moves in this one.
Her fighting was better. Her fighting was better here than it was in her own movie.
Yeah, you might be right. We have now Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson / Falcon. He's a really likable character and actor. I like him a lot. Anything I've seen him in, he's a good guy. Kobe Smulders returns as Maria Hill. She's got a substantially larger part here than in Avengers. We have Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter. That's Peggy Carter's niece. I like her a lot. Happened to notice that Emilia Clarke, Alison Brie, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, amongst others, were all considered for the role. And I think it was better to go with somebody who was, to me, was totally unknown. I'm sure she's done stuff before this, but I think that would have taken me out of the movie a little bit if it was like, I don't know if I would have known who Emilia Clarke was at the time, because Game of Thrones, I don't think, was out yet.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought that was interesting. And Samuel L. Jackson returns as Nick Fury. And I think this might be peak Nick Fury in this movie.
I agree.
For the bad guys, we have Sebastian Stan returning as Bucky Barnes / the Winter Soldier. Yeah, he's a bad guy in this one, but it's complicated, and we'll get into that. We have Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow. He's S.H.I.E.L.D., but also really Hydra, and we'll get into that. They got Robert Redford to play Alexander Pierce. So that's I thought it was kind of a big deal that they got him.
It was brilliant
Yeah,
casting.
yeah, and he's really, really good. Like he didn't phone it in at all. He's doing some of his best work. Alexander Pierce is the World Security Council secretary, but also secretly a Hydra director. Maximilio Hernandez returns as Jasper Sitwell. This is the one when we finally find out that he is Hydra. And Toby Jones returns as Armin Zola, believe it or not. And it's not just in the flashback. We'll get into that. There's a few other smaller parts, but that's basically the main people in the movie. So let's pencil dive into it. I think I'm popping my P's a little too much here.
It's okay.
So let's get into the main discussion. Did I already say that?
You did.
Okay.
But I mean, it still applies. I'm bracing myself on how many times I say badass now, so.
Well, I'm kind of counting on you saying it now.
Yeah, we might need a counter for this at the end of this.
You already said it once.
episode.
Hang on. Hold on a minute.
Right.
I gotta, if I remember. Go ahead.
You have a little you have a little tally thing. So this is a bit of a slow opening, but I enjoyed it, and it wasn't one of those weird time jump and then time jump backwards type things. But basically, it opens on Sam Wilson running or jogging, and Chris Evans comes running by, just not even running by, just blazing by, and just keeps saying "on your left" over and over. And he's just chugging. He's like not losing speed, and after each successive "on your left," it's pretty obvious that Sam Wilson is like really getting tired because he's run some miles. He's put in some work. It's because like each time Cap passes him, he's not winded. And it's just such a good show of how great superhuman shape Captain America is. You know,
I kind of wonder, like, does it matter? Is he doing it because he's bored and he likes to run or something? Like, does he really need to do that to be in shape?
Probably not. Yeah. I think his body just runs anyway. But maybe it's his way of centering himself because he's still adjusting to time. You know.
I mean, that's what I do when I run. I just zone out. It's like stress relief.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I like this. Right off the bat, we're doing things differently in this film. There's no need to start with a big action scene. It's just Cap and Sam running laps around the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool.
Yep. And the camaraderie it's pretty nice because it's like effortless camaraderie. It's really obvious here. Mm-hmm. It's the same way that it was with Bucky, right? I mean, the two of them grew up together, but here is just like this. The Cap is just a nice guy, and he is running into another really nice guy, and they're just they both recognize that in each other, and they hit it off right off the bat.
I just actually had a thought. That's why in Civil War and in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Bucky and Sam kind of butt heads so much is because, like, you know, Bucky was the best friend, but now Sam's a really good friend, and there's like that jealousy there. I bet you. I don't know. I never thought of that.
Well, one friend did try to kill the other guy.
There's probably that is a bit of a contributing factor as well.
Right.
I like that Sam knows how to deal with PTSD and is open with talking to Captain America about it, or talking to Steve Rogers about it.
Yeah, I think they established that right off the bat with him, which is nice because like he's clearly somebody that wants to do good in the world, right?
Right.
And then here he is gravitating towards Cap and vice versa. So I did like the little touch where Cap started adding the Marvin Gaye Trouble Man album to like this list, and it's nice to kind of freeze that frame and look at the rest of his list.
Oh,
that was kind of
nice. When Sam recommended it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, his little paper list.
Yeah, I like that. He's just got a regular old pad of paper and a pencil to write stuff down on, or a pen maybe, to write stuff down on. He doesn't have a fancy smartphone with a note-taking app.
Or Jarvis, right?
Yeah.
And then Natasha's entrance was pretty funny, where she just rolls up in, was it Corvette?
I don't know. It was a pretty nice car, whatever kind of car it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Corvette. But her line about,
either one of you know where the Smithsonian is? I'm here to pick up a fossil.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a sick burn. I love it. It was a great entrance.
Yep.
I had that in my notes too, actually. So yeah, she picks up Steve Rogers, and then Black Widow and Captain America go on a little spy rescue mission. They're taking a Quinjet to go to a mobile. This was something that wasn't too clear to me, but it's a mobile satellite launch pad boat.
I thought it was,
It's like it's like a big not a shipping boat. What am I thinking of? Like, what's the?
It looked like an oil tanker almost.
Yeah, oil tanker or like an aircraft carrier kind of thing. But anyways, it's this boat in the Indian Ocean. It's been taken over by Algerian pirates, and Steve and Natasha get the rundown on the situation. It's a $1.5 billion ransom that they're asking for. That's billion with a B. Jasper Sitwell is on the ship, and Cap wonders why. Foreshadowing intensifies.
Right. I think up to this point, every time I saw Jasper Sitwell in anything, it was just like, oh, Hydra.
Yeah. Yes, I do the same.
But yeah, the Quinjet going into stealth mode was pretty sick too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that when it cut out the jets and it switched to the vertical. What does VSTOL stand for? Vertical.
Short.
I forget what the S stands for.
I think it's short.
Yeah, takeoff and landing mode, and I just thought that was super cool. And then followed right up to with Cap just jumping out of the plane without a parachute. It was just like so badass. Just
yeah.
I was worried the most about this guy being the most boring superhero on the screen, and here he was just jumping out without a parachute.
Yeah, they find interesting things for him to do for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Not only does he jump out without a parachute, he just like pencil dives into the ocean, like right next to the ship, and manages to climb aboard easy peasy.
And then he just proceeds to take everybody out on the upper deck of that ship, just super stealthily. He's jogging around. Like, it was just such an awesome scene. There's so many just badass scenes in this movie. Like, he's just jogging around nonchalantly, not nonchalantly, but just knocking people off the ship and then knocking them out. And if he doesn't
chokeholds,
if he's not knocking them out, he's knocking them off the ship completely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I think this has to be one of the best movie beginnings to an MCU movie. Yeah. I think maybe Ragnarok's entrance might rival this one, but this is such a really good way to start it.
I don't remember Ragnarok's entrance.
It's where Thor is like tied up in chains and he has that monologue.
Yeah. I think this is, I like that a lot. I think this one beats it though. I guess we can decide on that one later.
Also, Cap's new outfit. So much better than Avengers. I hated the Avengers outfit.
It was way too blue. It was a really weird blue in that. This is great. It's like a darker color blue. Even the paint job on the shield is different and better. And the helmet that he wears, even that looked better. I mean, generally I don't like the helmet on him, but it was an improvement here.
Yep. I like the Black Widow's entrance when she like lands. She's parachuting in. And she doesn't even break a sweat. Just jumps into the dating conversation after taking out a few people.
And she's trying to hook Cap up with somebody or get him to hook up with somebody. Yeah, I feel like it's too much to describe everything that happens in this scene. But Black Widow and Captain America save all the hostages with a little bit of help from Rumlow, who also had parachuted aboard.
Yeah. I think some of the best highlights one of the best highlights to me was Black Widow taking out the whole first cohort of soldiers on her own.
Yeah, her fights are the best. She's got a lot of really good fighting style and technique. Captain America is really good too, but she needs to rely on her technique a lot more than he does because he's got all the strength, right?
Yep.
And she's got it.
Yeah. And then Rumlow and his team, they're pretty badass themselves as far as like military's special ops teams go. I mean, they've clearly they look like they've worked with each other for like years, and hey, good on them
for a reason. Yeah.
True. Yes. And then Jasper Sitwell saying, "I told you, Shield doesn't negotiate when everybody killed all the terrorists in that room." That was pretty badass too, though it comes off totally different now that we know that he's a Hydra agent.
Yeah. I did like that line.
But how'd you like the Batroc versus Captain America fight? I like that one a lot. That Batroc guy is actually, I guess, Georges St. Pierre. Hope I didn't murder his name. He's an actual like UFC MMA badass in real life.
So I didn't know that he was some guy.
Yeah.
But I did like that fight a lot. It was really good. I like how Cap ends up taking him out with like this spin flip kick. I don't even know what. I watched it like 5 times trying to figure out what kind of move that was. It was pretty awesome. And I owe you an apology. I owe Captain America an apology, and I owe the listeners an apology. I think it was in like the Iron Man 3 episode. I think you said, I wonder if Tony Stark gave Captain America fighting lessons or vice versa. I forget what it was. Something to that effect.
Captain America gave Tony Stark fighting lessons.
And I was like, I think he's more of a slug it out kind of guy. I was wrong. he's got some martial arts training for sure. By the way, in one of the behind the scenes things, they specifically mentioned that they wanted Steve Rogers to have more like hand to hand combat fighting skills and martial arts. And just basically it's like Steve Rogers got some training since Captain America 1. So, and I'm glad they did because there's some awesome fights.
Yep.
So let's see. There was a lot of fighting and hostages are rescued. They're still on the boat. Captain America disagrees with Black Widow over the mission objectives. She's copying the shield data that's on the computers there. She's copying it onto a fancy USB drive. And he's there to save the hostages.
Mm-hmm. And then that when that guy comes in with the explosive, and then Captain America knocks it out, but then like it explodes anyway, and then they both get knocked into a room, and she says,
Okay. That one's on me.
You're damn right.
Well, he like walks away. I gotta give Scarlett Johansson the points there, man. She looked really... Natasha looked really pained that Captain America was disappointed in her, basically.
I thought that she looked pained because they just like got blasted / jumped through some glass and landed hard, but it could have been the disappointment.
Yeah, I took it as a disappointment because I just thought that,
could have been both.
Because he took the brunt of the blast, I think.
Yeah,
from what I remember. Yeah, then the next scene it focuses on the Triskelion, which is, I guess for the comic book nerds, it's in the Ultimates.
Okay.
The Ultimates version of Marvel. It's just actually exciting seeing it in the MCU. It was pretty awesome.
It's SHIELD headquarters or World Security Council headquarters or both? I think it's both, right?
It was supposed to be Shields. In the comic books, it was just like Shields or something. Yeah, the World Security Council. I don't think that existed in the comic books.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
But it seemed like the top floor of this building was where the World Security Council tends to meet.
But it was only Pierce up at the top, right? The other guys were holographic, sitting around.
Right. So Steve Rogers confronts Nick Fury about not telling him about Black Widow's secret mission. And Nick Fury has a line. He says,
"Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye."
Is he just BSing here, or is the cat alien thing in Captain Marvel a retcon? Because like that's how he loses his eye in that movie.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those things that Nick Fury blames his eye on everything.
You shouldn't have trusted that cat.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those like, it's his not his cliche. It's his thing where
he had something
he pulls it in.
He said something about his one good eye, right? In the Avengers, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Nick Fury takes Steve Rogers to see this super top secret Project Insight, it's called. Even though Steve isn't authorized to see it, Nick Fury takes him.
When Nick Fury introduces the helicarriers, the new helicarriers, they look really badass. I thought the first one looked badass, but they look really badass. I wonder if there was a Lego set for the helicarriers.
That's interesting.
I'm gonna have to look that up. But the new ones remind me of like Space Battleship Yamamoto. I don't know if you've ever seen that cartoon from back in the day. It's like a big battleship in space that has like a big hole in the front. It shoots this huge blast in the front.
I don't know about that. Is it like a city on the ship, but then it's also like a mech?
Oh, that's Robotech.
Okay, Robotech. Yeah, all right, that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking BattleTech. It's Robotech. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Robotech.
Okay, but I haven't seen the one you're talking about.
It's pretty old. But these new helicarriers powered by repulsor engines, that's definitely a huge improvement over this. I was just having a hard time with believing the turbine things in real life were lifting up basically an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Nick's given the rundown on the new helicarriers, and he says once they go up, they never have to come down thanks to the new repulsor engines that were, I don't know, provided by Stark or the design or whatever. But, it's based on the Iron Man repulsors, right? So again, why did Tony Stark throw out his arc reactors at the end of Iron Man 3? I mean, obviously the technology has other applications.
I think he threw out the one from his chest.
Mm-hmm.
I think the arc reactor technology was still like invaluable in terms of like cheap energy.
The helicarriers are synced to a network of military satellites. And then Nick Fury's talking about all these things that they're going to do with it, and it sounds very impressive, but it is also kind of freaking me out. It's very military minded. He says,
"We're going to neutralize a lot of threats before they even happen,"
which sounds a lot like stop and frisk on a much larger scale.
Yeah, Captain America's line about
by holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection.
That was a pretty good line.
Yeah,
that back and forth with the two of them, with one justifying the ends to the means justifying the ends, or however you say that phrase.
Yeah.
Basically, Nick Fury saying the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
For me, it's just kind of like you can see the glimmer of how uncompromising Cap is with his morals, and why he becomes problematic for S.H.I.E.L.D. and basically everybody during Civil War.
Yeah, I really liked his line during that exchange where he's like,
"Thought the punishment usually came after the crime."
That was pretty good. And he's got another line where he says,
"This isn't freedom. This is fear."
Basically everything I was thinking, but more succinct and well thought out.
Yeah. I wonder if like the writers phoned it in for Thor 2 because they were so excited about the script.
Yeah, like I just want to get to the good one.
Yeah.
So Steve Rogers goes to the Smithsonian exhibit for Captain America. There's like this exhibit there. Not very undercover. He's just got like a hat on.
He had a hoodie on too, right? Didn't he?
Maybe.
I mean, if it works for Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know if that was if they ever actually had a similar exhibit in real life, because that would be pretty awesome to check if it was a legit.
They should have it at like Universal Studios or something. Although this wasn't a Universal Studios production. They should have it somewhere. Yeah. Maybe in Disneyland, Disney World.
But that kid noticing Captain America, that was pretty cute.
Anybody could have noticed him, I thought.
Right.
I thought a little bit that this scene was a bit of a recap for people who maybe didn't see the first Captain America movie. I didn't really.
It could have been, right? Yeah. It was really creative if it was.
Yeah, I like at the same time I didn't mind it, even though we had kind of just watched the first one. There's a little bit of recap about Bucky, and there's a little bit of a video of Peggy Carter, Agent Peggy Carter, talking about Captain America. And then I forget if it's a fade or a cut or a wipe, but we go to where Steve Rogers is visiting Peggy Carter it looks like she's in hospice or she's in some kind of full-time care because she's super old.
Yep.
And at first, when I first saw that scene this time, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, good call not putting Haley Atwell in old age makeup, because that would look terrible. But it is Haley Atwell.
Yeah, and I did not catch that.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it looked kind of like her.
Yeah. They had her do the scene with like a few dots on her face. And then they had some old lady who looked a bit like her, kind of old, do the same thing. And they basically digitally took the old age features of the lady and put them on Haley Atwell's face. And I thought it looked like I didn't think it looked digital, and I didn't think it looked like prosthetics. So it was really good. That was a good, that was money well spent.
Yeah.
But she's got to be like 95 at least, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think she looked that old, but it was pretty easy to forgive.
It was such a heartwarming scene, I thought. Just him kind of confiding in her, how hard of a time he is having like just navigating the world with his moral compass. And then her telling him he was just being dramatic. I just thought that was funny.
Mm-hmm. I like the scene a lot, but it bummed me out, which is probably why I like the scene. Like I like feelings. I was kind of bummed out though, because she has dementia or Alzheimer's or something. You know, they're talking, they have the conversation that you just said, and then she's like, "Oh, Steve!" Like he just showed up, and then you're like, "Oh man, she's not doing well." But so that was a little rough. Then we go to Nick Fury in his office, he's trying to access the files on the drive that Black Widow copied from the ship. But he can't open them because the files are locked. And when he tries to find out who locked the files, they were locked by Nicholas J. Fury. So, like, what's going on there? I don't know if did they ever fully explain that? Why he had supposedly locked the files, but he couldn't access them? Like, was it really him who locked them, or did somebody else lock them with his name? I don't know.
I just assumed it was Alexander Pierce who had locked them using his access.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I thought too. But if it was his access, why couldn't... Anyway. This is one of those like really little details that I didn't catch till maybe this time. But anyway. So Fury goes to talk to World Security Council Secretary Alexander Pierce. He asked him to delay Project Insight because he needs to be sure about something.
Man, Robert Redford as Secretary Pierce was just such a good choice.
Yeah.
Him asking Nick to get Iron Man to stop by his niece's birthday party was also pretty fun. Like just a really good touch. Like I whenever like lines like that, I always kind of wonder if it's people just riffing and kind of ad-libbing like at the
You're right,
doing it on their own.
Maybe, because I was thinking, well, how's how's Iron Man gonna stop by his niece's party if he's just Tony Stark? Because he wrecked all of his suits, right? Unless he started building them. Right. Unless he started building them again. I guess this is supposed to be a couple years after Avengers, and right. I think Iron Man 3 is more like 6 months. So I don't know. He can build suits pretty fast. Maybe he's got one.
Yeah. And then I think after this, Captain swung by the veterans group, right? And then he had that back and forth with Sam. Man, that's just such another good scene. Just great job, writers.
Yeah, I think like this was kind of necessary to set up the friendship a little bit more. Because we only saw them like at the very beginning, right? At the very beginning together. And it was kind of like they just ran into one another. And then here, like Captain America made the effort to show up to the support group.
Yeah.
And because he's gonna ask Nick, or he's gonna ask Sam for a favor a little bit later, and it's a big one.
Yep.
So after Fury talked with Pierce, he leaves the building. We have him driving. He calls Maria Hill on a secure line. Basically tells her to be in DC in 3 hours, quote unquote, deep shadow conditions. And then very quickly after that conversation, he's surrounded by cops, but they're not really cops. Yeah. And they attack him with automatic rifle fire. But he has a bulletproof car, which isn't as dumb as it sounds. But
the Cybertruck is a piece of shit compared to Nick Fury's car.
Because you had me at the Cybertruck is a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a separate podcast, but but yeah, it's not only is it bulletproof, but they needed to bust out with a battering ram, a pneumatic battering ram that was anchored to the cement or to the road itself, so that they could actually break into it. And then
they shut all the windows, but the windows wouldn't break, so they hit
nothing was breaking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and man, when that machine gun / grenade launcher thing pops up and Nick Fury starts messing them all up, I want that in my center console.
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds like really ridiculous, but it's really cool. I mean, I had no trouble just like I wasn't like, well, how are you going to get that in a car, right? It was just it was cool. I was along for the ride. So Fury escapes after firing back using that cool weapon he has in the car. We get a really good chase scene, a lot of really good practical car crashes. Practical in that they're not digital, not that a car crash is ever practical in real life. As he's driving, his AI keeps telling him that things are damaged. He's asking for, whatever. And it's like, well, this that system is damaged, or that system is not fully operational. And he goes,
well, what's not damaged?
Air conditioning is fully operational.
Which a little bit of levity in a very tense scene.
The way they work it in too is pretty awesome. I appreciated that a lot. And it's too bad the flight systems were damaged, because I'd have wanted to see that car fly. I don't know if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came before or after this, but yeah, the flying car thing wasn't it? Oh shoot, what's his name?
I don't remember the flying car in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like 7 or 8 episodes in at this point, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah, because he had a car. Agent Coulson had a flying Mustang, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. That's like way later, I think.
Way later. Yeah, okay.
I think.
Anyway, I would have wanted to see that car fly.
Yeah.
Well, also watching Nick Fury's car in self-driving mode made me want to say, like, suck it, Elon, that entire time. And then watching Nick Fury sideswipe and beat the crap out of the Hydra guys chasing him, it's also super satisfying until he gets fucked up by the Winter Soldier.
That's what I'm saying.
A hell of an entrance.
Yeah. Oh, that was really cool. But Nick Fury, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is peak Nick Fury. This is where he's the best. Yeah, and the Winter Soldier entrance is pretty awesome. He's just standing in the road and launches that magnetic explosive under Fury's car. And then it explodes, it flips the car over, and it skids to a stop on its roof.
That's such a highly specialized weapon, like an explosive magnetic disc thingy. Like, I don't know. It reminds me of Batman having like a one-off weapon for the ideal thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it was still super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he looks really intimidating with the goggles and that whole goggles mask combo that he was wearing.
It was a good choice by the costume department or whatever, like whoever designed that. It was cool because he's got like a full mask, right? But then the long hair.
Yep.
Yeah, it was cool.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. Plus, he's got the bionic metal arm, which we already discussed. It's cool, and it makes cool sounds when he's moving it. It's like. cooler than sounds I made.
I wonder if they changed the sounds it made once he got the vibranium arm.
Oh,
curious.
At the end of, I remember he was in Wakanda when that happens, but I don't remember at the end of what movie that is. That's the end of the Civil War.
Right?
Yeah. That's something we'll have to pay attention to. So let's see. Winter Soldier walks over, yanks the door off of Nick Fury's car, and looks in, and Nick Fury's gone. There's a hole cut in the roof. Recall that the car's flipped over onto its roof. There's a hole cut in the roof and a hole in the ground that Fury escaped through, we're supposed to assume.
That made me really wonder about New York streets. Because
was it New York or is it? I think that's DC, isn't it?
Was it DC?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because he just told Hill to be there. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but what did he use to cut through the car and that road?
Right.
Like it was like a lightsaber that was a mile long. What the hell?
So it's called the mouse hole. And you see Fury get it out after the car flips over.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like a lightsaber handle. Right, but then it looks almost like a butane torch at the end.
Yeah.
But it's a laser cutter tunneling device, which is kind of unrealistic. But this is one of the things where I'm like, this is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm willing to let it go because the movie just keeps going, right?
Right.
But they have the mouse hole. They have the mouse hole thing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, and I thought it was before this. Because then you could at least be like, well, if you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you would know what it was, which would still be lame. But it was after. It was like the episode that came out after this movie came out. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of lame, but for the most part, I can let it slide. I think it might have been worse if they showed him using it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think for me, the problem is Winter Soldier rips the door off and looks in, sees the hole, and he doesn't go down the hole after Fury.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I think they could have given Fury a line about it later, maybe about the mouse hole, about how we got out. I don't know. That might have been lame. I wouldn't only escaped because I had this mouse hole. Yeah, maybe that wouldn't have been maybe that's not a better idea.
Never leave home without it.
Yeah. There you go. So we go to Steve Rogers coming home to his apartment, and he stands outside his apartment for a bit in the hallway talking to a neighbor. If you hadn't seen the movie before, you don't know it yet, but that's Peggy Carter's niece, Sharon Carter. She's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. She was assigned to protect Captain America. I would think more like it's to keep eyes on him. I guess maybe to protect him from things like phishing scams, right? 'Cause what kind of protection does he really need? But she's undercover as his neighbor, who is supposedly a nurse.
Right. I liked her character enough, especially.
I like her character a lot. Yeah.
I guess I don't get the turn of her in Falcon and Winter Soldier, like that series where she became like the big bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, especially not with the events of this movie.
Right. And then in Civil War too, when she helped out in Civil War and everything too, right?
I only remember her at the funeral for Peggy Carter in Civil War, but I assume she did more than that.
Yeah.
So inside of Steve Rogers' apartment, Nick Fury is there waiting for him, and that's a bit of a surprise, obviously, to Captain America. There's a little bit of idle chit chat about Nick saying his wife kicked him out, but while he's having this very generic conversation, he's writing on other things on a notepad, and like he's like, "There's ears everywhere," and that shield is compromised. So he's trying to tell Steve Rogers things without saying it out loud, obviously. And then he gets shot multiple times by a sniper, which is obviously the Winter Soldier. Fury gives Captain America the USB drive and says, "Don't trust anyone." And then that's when the neighbor comes in and identifies herself as S.H.I.E.L.D., assigned by Fury. So I think that part was important because he was just like, "S.H.I.E.L.D.'s compromised." And then she walks in and says, "I'm S.H.I.E.L.D."
Right.
Then she tends to Fury while Cap goes after the shooter. And this is another rad chase scene, this time on foot. Cap is just running literally through walls, just busting them down with the shield, like putting his weight behind the shield and just like knocking through walls. That was pretty awesome.
That was a vibe, man. He wasn't even trying. He was just putting his shield down, putting his shoulder into his shield.
Wasn't slowing him down much?
No, it didn't.
No.
Right? It was, and I get it. It was office. They were office walls, so they're probably not built that strongly. But
right.
Still, he was just ramming through them. I liked how he would also use the shield to bounce off the walls to change direction without losing momentum. Yeah. That was really awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Smart.
And then the Winter Soldier. And then the end of that chase where the Winter Soldier catches the shield that with his metal arm on top of it after Cap throws it. That's definitely a chef's kiss moment.
That's an iconic scene. Like it's burned into my retinas. And then the Winter Soldier throws it back and Cap catches it and he's just slid back on his feet a little bit by the force of that throw. And when that happened, he looks down for a second because he's just like, what just happened?
Right.
And with that distraction, Winter Soldier gets away.
Yeah.
So Natasha meets Steve Rogers at some hospital, I guess it is, because that's Nick Fury is being operated on. They're like looking into the operating room. Maria Hill shows up and she says that the ballistics are untraceable. There's no rifling. I might not have even mentioned that, except we find out in a little bit that that's significant information to Natasha.
Yep. And then Fury dies on the table. And Hill and Natasha are visibly moved by Fury's death. You can almost see Natasha's anguish as her family is being taken from her.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense which makes sense that the Avengers would become her new family, right?
Yeah.
So
Hill says she needs to take the body. Spoiler alert, he's not really dead. And do you think she knows that he's not dead? Like, was this?
I think so.
Okay.
She had to.
Yeah, so I guess this is part of whatever Deep Shadow Conditions operation Fury told her he needed her for. And I'm certain that the plan wasn't, I'm going to get shot, right?
Right.
But there's probably a contingency where, like, if I get shot, we're going to fake my death.
Right.
Okay. That was what I was thinking as well. Then Rumlow comes by and tells Cap that he's needed back at S.H.I.E.L.D. now. And so Cap goes, but on his way out, he covertly stashes that USB drive in a vending machine that's being restocked. He just sticks it behind some packs of gum. So it sort of blends in. Not so much that we, the audience, don't notice it.
Right. Like, I hate to nitpick, but this is also one of those things I didn't quite get. Like, if he held on to it, I mean, it would take a lot to get that drive away from him. So
yeah, but I mean, if they killed him, it would be real easy, right? I mean, he's not bulletproof. Yeah. So
fair.
Back at S.H.I.E.L.D., Steve Rogers goes to meet with Alexander Pierce. This part gave me a little bit of a chuckle on the way on the way down the hallway to the office. Sharon Carter is just leaving the office and she passes him by and she's like,
Captain Rogers?
Neighbor.
That made me chuckle too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with Pierce and Cap chatting, you can almost see the shadiness coming from Robert Redford. He just does it really well.
Yeah.
And he does the whole I took a seat on the council because not because I wanted to, but because Nick wanted me to.
Yeah.
Which is exactly
so
the
heroic.
right?
So
but it's
selfless.
exactly the type of bullshit someone says when they've been gunning for whatever that seat was the whole time.
100%.
When Pierce keeps pressing Cap about Nick Fury being in his apartment. Maybe I'm just reading too much into these things because I'm really liking like just everything about the movie, but you can almost see the gears working in Captain America's head, you know?
I agree. I mean, I'm reading into the same things you are, I guess. But yeah, you can tell he's like, I can't say anything to this dude. I don't trust him.
Right.
So long story short, but important to the plot, Pierce says that Fury is the one who bugged Cap's apartment. Then he insinuates that Fury had hired the pirates to hijack the boat, suggesting that the hijacking was a cover for the acquisition of highly classified intelligence. And then he says that the sale of this intelligence must have gone sour, which has led to Fury's death. Cap, of course, doesn't believe it. He says,
If you really knew Nick Fury, you know that's not true. Why do you think we're talking?
and I feel like he's really messing with Captain America here.
Right.
Pierce says that him and Fury were going to build a better world, but sometimes you got to tear down the old one, and that makes enemies. Then he says not to get in the way of finding out who killed Fury, but Cap isn't saying anything. He won't give any information on anything that he knows about Fury's death.
What follows is the best elevator scene
Yes.
in all of cinema history, I feel like. I don't think I've seen an elevator scene in any movie.
Other than
That
people
is
just
anywhere.
riding in it. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But like it's such an awesome scene, and just watching all the guys filter into the elevator and then watching Cap look at like all these minute details that like tell him shit's about to go down, right? Like
Yep.
the sweat on some guy's eyebrow, the one guy like his hand too close to his holster.
Yep.
You could just see him, just the tension building with every person that came in.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, so this was another little behind the scenes thing I picked up on.
Mhm.
This was the first scene that they filmed for this movie. This was
Really?
the first thing that they did. Yeah. They're like starting with possibly the best scene. But they really do a great job of building tension going into this fight. Cap's noticing all kinds of things that are just a little bit off.
I think to your point, I wonder if they filmed this first so that everybody would get hyped, because
Maybe.
it's like such a badass scene. Like one of Romelo's guys just looks like an evil bastard. Like I wonder what that guy is like in, like, you know, guys that look like obvious bad guys in movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder what they're like in real life sometimes.
I feel like they got to like try to be extra nice because they're just going to be pegged as the bad guy all the time.
There's like bad guys everywhere, right?
Yeah.
When Cap says that whole thing where he goes,
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I mean, that's such a flex. Like that's as badass as you can get.
Legendary.
Right?
Legendary. It's so like I love that part so much. The whole fight scene is amazing, but then that one line before it's that's great, man. It really put a smile on my face.
Right?
Then we get a great close quarters fight in the elevator with like 8 other guys. Rumlow's got like a stun baton, and somebody's got some like super magnet handcuffs that they end up sticking one of his arms to the side of the elevator for a minute to mix up the fighting quite a bit. Rumlow has a line after a bit of fighting. Rumlow has a line.
I just want you to know, Cap, it's impersonal!
Right before he hits Cap with the stun baton, and then Cap grabs him and tosses him up into the lights at the top of the elevator, and he comes slamming back down to the ground, and then Cap's like,
It kind of feels personal.
Right.
the whole time Sitwell was watching on the security cameras, he sends more personnel who are waiting outside the elevator doors. And so Cap has to escape by jumping through the glass wall of the elevator and going through the ceiling of some pavilion down below.
That escape, man. Just jumping that high, landing on his shield. That just looked so painful.
Yeah, he landed like on his side. It looked really...
Yeah. I mean, clearly that nobody can survive that if they weren't Captain America.
No, but even being Captain America, it looked painful.
Right.
So he gets on his motorcycle and starts to hightail it out of there. But Sitwell, again, has been watching. He's trying to lock things down to keep him from escaping. And then a Quinjet shows up and shoots at him on his motorcycle, and he takes it out with the vibranium shield.
I don't know about you, but I loved that superhero landing when he jumps off the Quinjet. And right after beating the crap out of the Quinjet with his shield, he just lands that superhero landing with his shield.
I love a good superhero landing.
Right.
I thought that him taking out the Quinjet with the shield was a little bit over the top, but it was really cool. So,
oh man, I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was ridiculous, but it was awesome. So I'm going to give it a pass, right? It's not well, I mean, the Quinjet doesn't exist, right? Captain America doesn't exist, but in that world, it wasn't impossible to me, right?
Right.
So in the aftermath, Sitwell wants to throw the full power of S.H.I.E.L.D. at finding Captain America. And Sharon Carter wants to know why Cap would have done this. And Pierce says it's because Cap has info regarding the death of Nick Fury and refuses to share it. Then he declares Captain America a fugitive from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Steve goes back to get the drive from the vending machine, but it's gone. And then Black Widow comes up from behind him. She's chewing gum, which is what the drive was behind. And she has the drive. She got it out and saved it for him. She corroborates that Fury did hire the pirates to get the info. And she also figured out that it was the Winter Soldier who killed him. She says that there's intel on the Winter Soldier. He's credited with 24 assassinations in the last 50 years. And she had a run-in with him before and was shot by the Winter Soldier in her side, and there was no rifling. So that's how she figured it out. And so now Steve and Natasha are going to try to figure out what the Winter Soldier wants.
Right.
So slightly more undercover. Cap's got some Clark Kent glasses on this time, in addition to the hat. Slightly more undercover. They go into an Apple store to use one of the computers to try to check what's on the drive.
Yeah. I wonder how much Apple paid for that product placement. Because I also don't get why they didn't just take the drive to Tony and get him to crack it and rip it open.
I mean, there was already trust issues between Cap and Tony. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Plus, if they were planning for Civil War, do they want to have, Iron Man in this movie too?
True.
So, yeah, they're trying to figure out what's on the drive with the computer. I forget why. I think something with Natasha's phone. They're aware that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be able to locate where they are in about 9 minutes. Seems like a pretty good amount of time. Natasha says that the drive is protected by some kind of AI that keeps rewriting itself to counter her commands. Does that count as self-modifying code? And isn't that a programming no-no, George?
I don't even know, man. It's just you throw AI anywhere and it becomes like a Deus Ex Machina type of thing.
Yeah. Tangent, did you notice that it was, obviously I'm running a Mac operating system, but did you notice that it was 10.8 Mountain Lion? And there's like the little iDisk thing in the sidebar?
I saw the iDisk thing, I didn't realize.
Yeah. That was the last version. I think that was the last version that supported iDisk. Sorry, Mac nerd. Apple nerd. So then an Apple Store employee interrupts them, asking if they need help. I really like this guy. He's great. The actor's name is DC Pearson. He was in a movie. He's been in a lot of things, but one of the things I know him from is Mystery Team, in which he's like a total nerd, no beard or anything. You wouldn't even recognize him. But that's with Donald Glover. Donald Glover, DC Pearson, and some other guy I forget. It's good. You should check it out. It's pretty funny. It's goofy, but I like it. I'll probably cut all that. That was terrible. The Apple Store employee comes over and gives Steve Rogers like a long, knowing glance, like he knows who he is, and he's like,
"I have the exact same glasses."
Wow, you two are practically twins.
Yeah, I wish. Specimen.
Yeah, I like the specimen comment.
Yeah. So, anyways, to get back to the important part of the movie, Natasha can't open the file, but she was able to trace where it came from. And I don't know if that really jives, but whatever. I can accept that.
Right.
It came from this place in New Jersey, which Steve recognized it's where he was trained, and I think that makes it the scientific strategic reserve.
Yeah.
Strategic scientific reserve. That's the one. But now the SHIELD agents are at the mall looking for them, and they're just trying to be covert and blend in with the crowd. And they're going up an elevator while Rumlow's coming down the other side, or maybe it's vice versa. And they get past him by making out, because Natasha says like nothing makes people more uncomfortable than a public display of affection, and it works. They start making out, and he starts looking the other way. But I didn't mind seeing them make out at all. Wouldn't mind if they got together.
Right.
After that, they drive to New Jersey, and there's a lot of talking on the drive. And I'm not positive, but I think Black Widow's DTF, the way she's looking at him.
Oh, see, I didn't get that vibe. I got it more as the vibe that I thought she was putting out was more like she's bored, so she wanted to mess with him.
Yeah, that could have been it.
Like that whole line about, was that your first kiss since 1945? Like, I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then when he was like, when she was like saying, who do you want me to be? And he tells her, how about a friend? You can see that he's not playing around, or even if she is like down, like Cap knows where he is, and he's setting that
Did he friend zone her?
He's setting that friendship thing. I think he pretty much like let her know right off the bat, this is a friend zone.
Yeah.
This is as far as we're going.
I mean, it's probably better not to mess up that relationship.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see it like even in Endgame, right? He was like helping her get through things too.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So they get to the old army site where Steve was trained. He notices that there's a munitions storage building out of place, and they break in, and it's some sort of secret SHIELD site. Maybe possibly where SHIELD was started.
Mm-hmm.
They find a secret elevator within the secret office, and then they break into that.
I kind of need that, whatever that app that Natasha has on her phone that scans a keypad and then figures out the number of combos pressed.
I mean, I think it's her phone in general.
Right.
It's the Samsung MacGuffin 10.
Right.
The phone does a lot of heavy lifting for the plot of this movie. That's kind of one of my criticisms, but
right,
I can let it slide, man. It's a really good movie. I'm
surprised Apple didn't make them use iPhones.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. So they get in the elevator, go down. I don't know how many floors. It might have been one big floor. And in the room is a whole bunch of really old computers with huge reel-to-reel tape drives and old green phosphor CRT screens. And there happens to be a USB hub that somebody has connected, and Black Widow plugs the drive in. And when she does that, she's like,
Shall we play a game? It's from a movie that was really popular.
I saw it.
War Games reference. I like that.
Yeah. I like how Captain America right after that was like, no, I got it. Because she was trying to, I guess, explain it to him. Or I guess, what would you call it if it's not the opposite of mansplaining?
Right. Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, then Arnim Zola appears as an AI. An AI in ASCII? I guess animated in ASCII.
It almost looks like ASCII. It's lines and dots, like, but it looked pretty. It looked cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, apparently a whole warehouse of databanks powering him.
Yeah. So he gives a little bit of his own backstory. He was terminally ill, so they saved his mind on 200,000 feet of databanks, and you can bet your ass I looked up how many gigabytes that is. It's only about 14 gigabytes.
Holy shit.
Probably not realistic, but only the nerds are going to look into that and care.
Right.
So I guess it's passable. And I just love the look of everything going on here. That was very minor gripe on my part. SHIELD thought Zola could help their cause. He helped his own cause as well. And then Zola does an exposition dump about how when Hydra was eradicated, they were reborn within SHIELD. And for 70 years, Hydra has been secretly running things, changing history.
Yeah, and then Black Widow says, no way, SHIELD would have stopped him. And Zola says, accidents will happen. And then did you catch like Howard Stern?
Yes.
No, Howard Stern, different guy. Howard Stark's picture showing up, and I think just I don't know if they intended to, but they probably did intend to. But it's kind of like a foreshadowing of Civil War, right?
I guess. I mean, intentional or not, yeah. They shows Howard Stark's picture, which I assume was the newspaper of his death, right?
Right.
Newspaper clipping. They also had Nick Fury. He also shows Nick Fury's death.
Yeah.
Zola says Hydra has finally created a world so chaotic that humanity is finally ready to sacrifice its freedom to gain its security.
Doesn't that oddly sound like now?
Yes.
But yeah, Project Insight's algorithm was apparently written by him. I think I missed that the first time around.
I think I've missed it every time. Black Widow and Captain America want to know what the algorithm does, but Zola says,
The answer to your question is fascinating. Unfortunately, you shall be too dead to hear it.
And then Natasha gets a signal on her magical phone that a missile is incoming, fired by S.H.I.E.L.D. So it turns out...
Is that phone like a radar detector? Like,
exactly. I don't know. I was like, who's giving her this information? What? So it's, I just got to be like, okay, they need to move the movie along. Right. So this is how they're doing it. It's fine. So it turns out that Zola had been stalling. They take cover under like a ventilation grate in the floor. I think that's what it was. And this is another, like, they'd be dead no matter what. There'd be like, everything blows up around them and they're actually okay, but there'd be no oxygen left to breathe. So they would suffocate. But again, I'm okay with it. The thing that doesn't make sense is that Cap is carrying Natasha because she's unconscious and he just kind of like walks out of the rubble pile. But weren't they way down in the ground?
Yes, because they took an elevator all the way down there, right?
Right.
But I mean, maybe the answer is the missiles blew
crater.
Up. Yeah, it's a huge crater that stopped right at the top of that little grate, that ventilation grate that they were at.
Pretty lucky.
Right.
So then after they leave, some helicopters and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents show up to check the scene, and Rumlow's there, and he sees like a footprint that I guess he knows is Captain America's, and says, gets on his little walkie-talkie and is like, call in the asset. Then we go to Alexander Pierce in his kitchen. His maid is leaving, and we see the Winter Soldier seated at a table in the shadows. Turns out he's the asset.
Yep.
Pierce tells him the timetable is moved, our window is limited, and that there's 2 targets, level 6, which we assume are Captain America and Black Widow. Then the maid comes back because she forgot her phone. And Pierce kills her. Says like, I wish you would have knocked. And then he has to kill her because she saw him talking to Winter Soldier.
Right. Rest in peace, Renata. That was pretty. That was brutal.
Yes, I mean but it's like that's how we establish like just what a piece of shit Pierce really is, right?
Right. Yep.
Side note: did you see that when he opened the fridge? In the fridge, he has Paul Newman spaghetti sauce.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, which, in case somebody listening doesn't know, Robert Redford, who plays Pierce, did a ton of movies with Paul Newman. They were kind of a 2-for-1 deal. You can't really see it well, actually, the spaghetti sauce, but if you know to look for it, you can see it. It's definitely there.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that it wasn't like super obvious either, right? Because like that'll take you right out of the movie. Cap and Black Widow show up unannounced at Sam Wilson's place and ask to lay low there. And if I was Sam, I'd be like, hell no, white people, get out of here.
Right. This is how you get in trouble.
Exactly. Black Widow, so they're talking at Sam's apartment, and Black Widow is like, who at S.H.I.E.L.D. could have launched a domestic missile strike? And without even thinking about it, Cap is like, Pierce. And then they also figure out that Jasper Sitwell is in on it. In this scene, Sam also tells them about the Falcon suit.
Yeah. I like how Sam is like,
dude, Captain America needs my help. There's no better reason to get back in.
And then Cap, no problem, just jacks Fort Meade and grabs the experimental Falcon wings.
Yeah, that was something that was totally glossed over. Sam's like, I was a pilot. I use these experimental wings. You know, I can help out. There's still a pair of wings or whatever at Fort Meade. And then we just go to the next scene and you don't know it yet, but he already has them. And like we've totally skipped over the part where he gets them. I feel like we could have used something on that.
Maybe they filmed it, but they cut it because it was running
that's
long.
my guess, is that, you know, they had to cut something from the film, because I mean it's 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that, which is kind of long, but again, it moved. Like I wouldn't have minded another 10 minutes to fill in a couple of blanks here, fill in a couple of gaps. Then we see Senator Stern and Jasper Sitwell are leaving lunch at the Occidental Hotel. And
Gary Shandling is back as Senator Stern. And then, surprise, he's with Hydra.
Yeah. He's great, though. I love Gary. R.I.P. Gary Shandling.
Oh, yeah.
Sam anonymously calls Sitwell and basically tells him to do what he says or he's dead. And you see like a red laser on his tie. Don't know if that was a real scope or just a laser in the movie. Obviously, in real life, it was probably just a red laser. Then we cut to Captain America roughing up Sitwell on the roof of some building, trying to get him to talk. And then Black Widow kicks him off the roof. And Sam has the Falcon suit. This is where we find out Sam already has the Falcon suit. Really wish we could have seen him get it. But he presumably grabs Sitwell out of the air and flies him back up. And Sitwell's obviously freaked out. Starts telling him everything they want to know. He says,
Zola's algorithm is a program for choosing Insight's targets.
What targets?
You, a TV anchor in Cairo, the Undersecretary of Defense, a high school valedictorian in Iowa City, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat to Hydra. Now, or in the future.
It'll evaluate people's pasts to predict their future, and it can basically calculate who is going to have power.
When Sitwell mentions S.H.I.E.L.D. targeting Bruce Banner and Stephen Strange, I was like, ooh, that's awesome.
I missed the Stephen Strange one. The Insight helicarriers will scratch people off the list a few million at a time, Sitwell says. So now the plan is to use Sitwell to bypass the DNA scans and access the helicarriers directly. So they start driving somewhere, I'm guessing probably the Triskelion building where the helicarriers are.
Right. As they're driving, when Sitwell says,
Hydra doesn't like leaks,
you just know he's going to get fucked up. And man, like, almost like on cue.
It was at that moment Sitwell knew he fucked up. Suddenly, Winter Soldier's on the roof of the car, busts out a window, grabs Sitwell, and just flings him out into oncoming traffic. And he hits a semi. That's it for Sitwell, man.
And that's the last MCU movie that Sitwell is in. Yeah, Sam hits the brakes. Winter Soldier flies off the roof of the car. And man, there was that right when he flips and then lands on the road. And he's digging into the road with his metal arm.
Yeah.
That was pretty badass, man.
It is pretty awesome. Oh, I got to check off another one.
And then the gunfight that follows.
It gives Heat a run for its money. It is good.
Man, I don't even know what to say about this. I didn't even take that much notes on this scene because it was just so good. I was just watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about on a podcast other than like it's awesome. Really, really rad car chase, gunfight, hand-to-hand combat scene, mixing it up with, you know, Captain America, Black Widow, and Falcon all versus the Winter Soldier. It goes over the top in places, but I still love it. Like I didn't care. I didn't care that it was over the top. My one example I wanted to give was where Black Widow is flipping away as a car explodes behind her, and she like goes over the edge of an overpass. And as she's falling, she fires a grappling claw at the underside of the bridge.
Right.
So then she starts swinging down and just like perfectly lands running in that direction. Like it was awesome. Totally ridiculous, but awesome.
Right. Right. Just enough line to land.
Yeah.
For her height.
Like she had done it 100 times.
Yep.
There's lots of heavy artillery firing. Winter Soldier has a grenade launcher on his automatic rifle, which was interesting. And then Black Widow sneaks up on him and disables his arm temporarily with a little shock device disc. That's probably something I wouldn't have mentioned, but it is important for later.
Yeah, it's just like Winter Soldier versus the Black Widow. that fight ends on like what seems to be like on a sad note, but then Captain America comes in, and then the fight scenes get even better with all the knife work. Man, I just like loved everything.
It's so good.
That
like
fight scene.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So like, I just put it together now. Like this whole scene starts like really big and intense, and they keep bringing it in closer and tighter, but also at the same time more intense.
Yep. Yeah, it's so good, man. It's like Super Soldier versus Super Soldier with a badass metal arm, and it's just
I put in the notes. I'm begging you to please stop saying everything is badass. It's completely lost its meaning, but now I want it to keep going because now I'm keeping track. The fight culminates here when the Winter Soldier gets his mask pulled off, and it's Bucky. And I don't remember if the first time I saw the movie that I knew who that was, because it had been so long since Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Like I don't know if I recognized him, right? But then Cap goes, Bucky? And then Bucky's like, who the hell is Bucky, right? So I put it together at that point. But so Winter Soldier is like, who the hell is Bucky? And then right then S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up, led by Rumlow, and they arrest Captain America, Black Widow, and Sam Wilson. Winter Soldier wanted to assassinate them right there in the street, but Rumlow was like, not here.
Right. And then the armored car ride. I don't know, man. I'm never going to get tired of seeing Kobe.
She's pretty great in this.
Yeah. Hill shows up, saves the trio from getting detained by Rumlow and co. Man.
Well, I already kind of gave it away before, but I was just like, I don't think they were being detained. I think they were being led to their execution.
Right.
She's dressed up as one of the helmeted guards and takes out the other guard that's in there. And then you don't see it, but they escape through another mouse hole. And I'm not sure when that happened because the armored car was moving, then it stops, and then everybody like Rumlow and company come and open up the back, and then you see the hole in the bottom of the van. So they moved fast.
The hole was through the ground where they stopped too, right?
I don't know. I thought you could only see the vehicle, but I would assume it was probably... It could have been through the ground. I'm not sure. But I mean, I feel like the armored car, they could have just slid out from underneath, but then I feel like they would have been caught, right?
Right.
So probably the ground. Then the movie cuts to, I think this is just all the things that they cut for time.
Right.
You know, 'cause I just feel like there's some gaps here, but cut to them all getting out of some other vehicle. This is not the most problematic of the gaps for me. Hill takes them to a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. hideout where Nick Fury is recovering. He's not dead. It turns out he took the opportunity to fake his death with tetrodotoxin B that Bruce Banner had developed to slow your heart rate to 1 beat per minute. Banner wanted to use it to relieve stress, but it didn't work well for him. And by the way, tetrodotoxin is actually a real thing, not tetrodotoxin B, but tetrodotoxin. It's a neurotoxin produced by things like the pufferfish. It's like deadly poison.
Yeah. Hey, did you notice that one of the doctors was the Russo brothers?
I did not. I'm surprised I missed that. Was it? Yeah. It must have been not Anthony Joe. Is the other one?
I think so.
Joe Russo? Okay,
I can't remember which one's which.
I know.
It's
he also,
the same. It's the same guy that was in Endgame.
Okay, yeah. That I was say. I know that Joe is the one who's like he plays like a gay guy in talking about he was going out on a date or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I'm sort of wondering, man, now it's gonna eat at me. I'm wondering if he's still the same person. Like he's also the doctor.
Oh, that's interesting. Hang on.
From there.
Let me make a note of that one. Let's see.
I mean, if it was, that's awesome.
All right, here we go. Ready? No, he wasn't. We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post, we'll fix it in post, George.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, there was that line where Nick Fury gives about Pierce.
This man declined the Nobel Peace Prize. He said peace wasn't an achievement. It was a responsibility. See, it's stuff like this that gives me trust issues.
Man, that was such a great line.
The way he delivers it, especially.
Yeah.
I'll put that line in from the movie. So we cut to Bucky getting his bionic arm repaired, and he starts having flashbacks. And you see the train scene from Captain America 1, where like he fell and then some things that must have happened to him done by Zola. And you hear Zola saying, and you see him, he says,
You are to be the new fist of Hydra. Put him on ice.
So you're kind of led to believe that he's been taken in and out of active duty. And when he's off active duty, he's essentially frozen, which is why he can still look so young, even having been Steve's age back in 1942 and all these assassinations over the last 50 years, they said.
Right.
Why is it only 50 years though? Because it's been like 70. Maybe it took a while to or I guess there could be 20 years where nobody figured out that it was him. Okay, There we go. So anyways, he's still having those flashbacks, and then it kind of blends back to current day where he's getting his arm fixed. And then Bucky socks some Hydra scientist who fixed his arm.
And then surprise, surprise, Pierce shows up to talk to Bucky.
Yeah. Pierce wants the mission report, and he's basically talking to Bucky like he's a robot. And then he slaps him, which seems pretty risky, in my opinion. Bucky is clearly rattled by the encounter with Steve, and Pierce gives him a little pep talk, but it doesn't seem like Bucky is up to the task. So Pierce says, wipe him and start over. And then they start the wiping process, which looks painful, and Pierce leaves. So now we have a little flashback to probably the late 30s. Steve's parents are dead, and Bucky's with him. And his mom had just died. It sounds like they just got back from the funeral.
Yeah. It's such a short scene with this shrimpy Steve Rogers and Bucky. But it's so good. It was like nice seeing where the whole I'm with you till the end of the line, pal, where that line came from. And it's so obvious that they're just totally tighter than he or Sam could ever be.
Yeah. Though
Sam doesn't have the weight of all the all the shit that the Winter Soldier did during the dark years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That line, I'm with you to the end of the line. I felt like they wanted to have something to call back to later.
Yeah.
I guess they kind of needed it. So, but I feel like I could tell that that's what it was there for.
Like it was like a plant.
Yeah, yeah. So Nick Fury and Maria Hill have a plan to swap out some program cards on the 3 helicarriers to stop Project Insight. Cap thinks that's not enough. He says all of S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to go down. S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, it all goes. And everybody agrees, pretty much.
I don't know. Part of me is like, I don't really know why S.H.I.E.L.D. itself has to be completely dismantled. I really didn't agree that S.H.I.E.L.D. had to go.
Everybody but George agrees.
Right? If Nick Fury was in charge and was on top of everything this time around, because Nick Fury didn't start out in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Like it grew from the beginning.
Right.
But if they just took it all apart and put him in charge of like bringing it back up, like, I don't know.
I guess I just feel like, there's already trust issues. How are you going to know who's really S.H.I.E.L.D. and who's Hydra pretending to be S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah.
It seems, I don't know. I feel like nuke it from orbit is the approach here. Right. Also, I thought it was interesting that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show had pretty much just started, and now the MCU is wiping out S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And it is addressed in the show, and Nick Fury even makes an appearance on the show, I think. So S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't really end up being wiped out, but
anyway, so Sam and Steve have this whole conversation, and Steve is taking off, and Sam goes, "Where are you going?" And Steve says,
"If you're gonna fight a war, you got to wear a uniform."
And then it cuts to Stan Lee saying, "Oh man, I am so fired because Captain America's outfit is missing from the museum."
Right. Yeah. So Sam Lee's playing the night security guard, I guess.
Yeah. And, I liked his new outfit, but it was still like his first Avengers outfit was awesome too.
Yeah.
And it's way better than I don't think anybody misses the Avengers outfit.
No.
I think another Joss Whedon fuck up.
Don't say his name, George.
Oh, my bad.
I'm joking. Yeah. But yeah, regarding the, what you just said about the suit, I had almost the exact same thing written down. That's funny. But wouldn't it, man. Then I was thinking, wouldn't his old suit just fall apart? It's like 70 years old, right? But maybe since it was Frozen 2, it's not that old. I don't know.
Oh, actually, wouldn't that accelerate it?
I don't know. I'm not a clothing chemist.
Right.
Although I do know a lot about polymers, so I should probably know this. So a lot of things are about to happen, and I think we should try to be brief. But again, you should watch this movie because this is awesome. So the final launch sequence for the helicarriers at the Triskelion is going on. All the World Security Council members have flown in for this. Pierce gives them all lapels to wear, telling them that the facilities are biometrically controlled and these will give them unrestricted access. Did you catch the Danny Pudi cameo?
How could I not, man?
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, not everybody knows who he is. I guess if you watch Community, you know who he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, when Cap and the team get into the security room, he's the first person there inside the room.
Right. I wish he hung out more.
Yeah.
But then Cap gives this like super rousing speech, and man, he's just I mean, I get it. It's always the writers and stuff, but he really is good at giving rousing speeches before a big fight.
Yes. Yeah. So Pierce is toasting the World Security Council because they're going to have the helicarriers launch. When Steve Rogers gets on the intercom, he tells everyone that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra and Pierce is their leader. And then he says if the helicarriers are launched, Hydra will be able to kill anyone that gets in their way. So then Rumlow steps up to this poor launch crew guy and tells him to preempt the launch sequence and send the helicarriers up now. And then this guy, he pauses for a long time and he says he's not going to launch the ships, captain's orders, which I thought was pretty awesome. I feel like that must have been a really, for that actor, like I would have been super proud of that part because that's the only line he gets, right? And it's the only part of the movie he's in, but it's awesome. You know, he's like captain's orders. Anyways, Rumlow forces the guy out of his seat, but then a bunch of people are pulling guns on one another, and Sharon Carter points her gun at Rumlow's head and says,
like he said, captain's orders.
Yep.
So that's kind of why it really extra doesn't make sense how she ends up being the bad guy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Like, was she playing the super long game at this point? Like, I don't understand it.
Maybe she's pissed Captain went back in time and stayed there.
Maybe
to hook up with her aunt.
That's right. So at this point, Rumlow drops his gun, but then he does this sweet move where he grabs a knife from his belt and he slashes at Sharon Carter's forearm, and then she drops her gun and he catches it, and then everybody starts shooting at one another. Rumlow overrides the countdown and the ships launch.
Part of me is like, S.H.I.E.L.D. security must suck if you can easily override the countdown from somewhere. Or maybe it's because he's Hydra that he was able to override the countdown really easily. I don't know. But
I mean, I feel like there's so much security around if you're not looking for someone to be to have infiltrated the entire organization. You know, it could be a simple mouse click. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. In any case, the new helicarriers, they look pretty badass when they launch and head into the sky.
I agree. At this point, war basically breaks out with some people trying to stop what's happening and others trying to let it happen. And it's hard to tell who is on whose side. And there's actually a line where Sam and Steve are running to get onto the helicarriers.
Hey, Cap, how do we know the good guys from the bad guys? If they're shooting at you, they're bad.
Then in the meeting room, Pierce is about to shoot one of the World Security Council people. And then Hawley, not Holly, but Hawley, Hawley, that's the character's last name, played by Jenny Agutter, something like that. Jenny Agutter. This is the same actress and character that was one of the talking heads in the Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So her character, who's kind of an older lady, she just like kicks a bunch of asses, right? Like starts beating up all the Hydra agents that are there. And then it turns out that it's actually Black Widow in a mask.
Black Widow's a Mission Impossible moment. Totally caught me by surprise. Yes. I don't know if it did, if you saw that coming, but I totally did.
Nobody saw that coming. This is my biggest problem. This one part, I think they needed to hint at it a little bit.
Right.
Because if they had shown how she got the mask, maybe if they had shown how did she swap places with Hawley, right? And where's the real Hawley?
Right.
I think there's things they could have done to hint at it without giving it away. Like, I'm actually going to talk about that later. But for me, this was too much of a MacGuffin. This is the worst one in the movie, but it's still pretty awesome. So it's not really detracting too much for me. Then Black Widow hacks the computers and is dumping SHIELD and Hydra info onto the internet. Fury shows up to confront Pierce as well. And Pierce tells him,
I can bring order to the lives of 7 billion people by sacrificing 20 million.
And then Pierce activates the lapels to kill that the World Security Council were wearing, which kills them. But for some reason, not Black Widow. He just threatens her. And eventually, just to kind of move things along here, because a lot of things are happening in various, there's a lot of cutting between the scenes. But eventually, Black Widow uses one of the little electroshocker discs that she had disabled Winter Soldier's arm with. She uses one of those on herself, which in turn fries the little lapel device. Then Fury kills Pierce, and Fury and Black Widow leave to go get the chopper that's on the roof. I presume that's how Nick got there to begin with, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was his chopper.
His personal helicopter.
I guess so.
Nice. So Sam and Cap each get one helicarrier under Hill's control by swapping out the server card in each one. And then Bucky shows up and starts blasting. And I thought it was pretty awesome when he kicks that one guy, kicks him like 10 yards and into the intake of a Quinjet, and then that blows up. That was pretty rad. Then
I kind of laughed at that one.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunate for that guy, but it's a movie. It's okay to laugh.
Yep.
So then Bucky gets into a different Quinjet and flies away in that one. Then Sam flies Cap to the third helicarrier using the Falcon suit.
Right. I almost don't care what the Falcon's wings are made out of, but there's just no way that tiny ass wingspan is enough to keep two people in flight, regardless of the power in that jetpack, I feel like.
Yeah, because I'm a nerd, I looked into it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not the Falcon suit, because I mean, it's not real, but like an eagle can only carry about 50% of its own weight, right? And Cap obviously weighs more than Sam.
Right.
But at the same time, how else is Cap supposed to get to that third helicarrier? So it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
So they get there. Bucky is already there on the third helicarrier waiting, and he just kicks Cap off, rips a wing off the Falcon suit, and kicks him off too. Fortunately, Sam has a chute. Also, fortunately, Cap had managed to hang on to the helicarrier, who's kind of more towards the bottom of it. And then he just climbs up into the server area, which is where he needs to go. And then Bucky is there, waiting for him again. And Cap tries to plead with him, and then we get some good close quarters fighting while Cap is trying to swap out the card, which is kind of cool. He's like, opening it up, turning around, fighting a little bit,
right?
Trying to get that done. But then they fall down like a level, and Cap actually has to choke Bucky out to get away from him. And then he's trying to get back up to where he needs to be to swap out the card. Then Bucky starts shooting at him, and Bucky doesn't miss, right? So he gets shot in several limbs and the torso. He's still going though. Yeah. He's not dead or anything. But then the algorithm gets deployed.
When they deploy the algorithm, it's pretty cool seeing like who all the targets are, and I just kind of paused a couple of times to see if I could see a bunch of people. But did you catch Tony Stark in Avengers Tower?
I did not.
It was actually Avengers Tower now too. It didn't just say Stark.
Oh, all right. No, I didn't see that, or I didn't see Stark or Avengers Tower, but I did see Maria Hill and Matthew Ellis, who's the president from Iron Man 3. So algorithms deployed, but then Cap gets the card in just before all the assassinations are about to begin. So all three helicarriers are under Maria Hill's control now, and she has them shoot each other down, which is pretty cool. Cap told her to do it anyway, even though he's still on one, right?
Right.
And that wouldn't be the first time the captain went down with the ship. All the ship parts are conveniently not landing on people or houses. A lot of it lands back in the Potomac. The helicarrier that Steve and Bucky are on was a lot higher, so that one is falling. It's not like completely wrecked either. It's still kind of got some propulsion, right? So It's falling slowly. Meanwhile, Sam has been fighting Rumlow somewhere in the Triskelion. I think Rumlow was on his way to help out Pierce, and Sam was trying to stop him.
Yeah.
And then the third helicarrier that's crashing more slowly hits the Triskelion building and takes out Rumlow for now. And Sam's running away from the crash. This was a really awesome scene. Totally ridiculous, but really awesome. Sam runs, and he's like on a headset communicating to Black Widow and Nick Fury that he's about to jump out the northwest corner of the 41st floor. And then he jumps through the window and into the helicopter.
Yeah. I wasn't really that big of a fan of the way Nick Fury and Black Widow saved Sam here. But yeah, I guess it works.
Because the helicopter turned sideways?
Because it turned sideways and perfectly caught him and then righted itself.
Yeah. It's a totally over the top moment, but I don't know. I thought it was awesome. I didn't care.
Yeah. It fit. I mean, it fits, right?
Yeah.
It tracks.
Oh, did you also notice Black Widow spilling out of her suit in this scene?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I must have missed that.
Yeah. Might want to get your eyes checked, buddy.
I don't know. I don't know how. But I think I missed it.
Yeah. Oh, and Sam, like after he gets into the helicopter, he has a funny line because he falls pretty far before they catch him.
Yeah.
And he's got a funny line about he's like,
41st floor! 41st! Not like they put the floor numbers on the outside of the building.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Back in the third helicarrier, which is still crashing, Bucky thanks Cap for lifting a big girder off of him by fighting him some more. And Cap just takes it and tries to tell Bucky who he is and that he knows him. And he says, I'm not going to fight you. You're my friend. And I think at this point that makes sense, like not trying to fight him anymore because he did all the saving that needs to be done. And now he can try to save Bucky.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Bucky says, you're my mission. And he starts to just beat the ever-loving crap out of Cap's face with his bionic arm. And Cap tells him to finish it.
Because I'm with you to the end of the line.
So we get the callback, right? And I was like, oh, that's why we had the flashback earlier. So it felt a little forced to me. But we needed something to snap Bucky out of his Winter Soldier mode. Yeah. Programming, that's good. And then at that point, Bucky pauses, and then a big piece of the ship falls. It breaks the floor. Cap falls into the water below, into the Potomac. And then we just kind of cut to Bucky dragging him out of the water, and then he walks away. See in Civil War, Bucky. And then we get the denouement, which is Sam in the hospital with Cap, who's recovering. He's got some stitches in his face. He looks pretty banged up. And then Sam has Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man playing on an iPhone. So we get called back to the beginning of the movie. Steve wakes up and says, on your left, which is a well-earned callback, in my opinion. I like that one. And that'll come back in Endgame as well, right?
Yep.
I'm a little worried that all the callbacks that we've been getting, like when we finally do get to Endgame and they use them all in there, I'm a little worried they're gonna have been used up by then, but hopefully not. We see Sharon Carter in CIA training. Maria Hill's interviewing at Stark Industries. Senator Gary Shandling gets arrested by the FBI. And then they show Rumlow all burned up being taken to the hospital. But I feel like that had to have happened before most of these other things. Because it's not like Sharon Carter, left the gunfight in the Triskelion building and went directly to CIA training, right?
Right.
So,
but also a whole helicarrier landed on his ass.
He's tough.
I mean, he is, but
maybe was he getting some kind of super soldier serum treatment? I don't know if that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm reaching. But he comes back at the beginning of Civil War, so.
Yep.
Then we have Black Widow testifying before Congress, and she gives kind of an Avengers-like speech about the world needing her and Cap and the rest of the crew. Nick Fury takes his eye patch off and then burns it along with his secret storage area that he has or something. And then he goes and meets Cap and Sam at his own grave. So is he still officially dead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like as far as like
doesn't have to pay
as
taxes.
far as
then.
the world, yeah. I mean that part's nice. As far as the world's concerned, he's dead still.
Mm.
Did you notice on his tombstone, the path of the righteous man?
I did not.
That quote from Ezekiel.
Yeah,
it's the whole thing's there.
The whole thing,
not the
from
whole,
Pulp
not the
Fiction?
whole, yeah, not the whole quote, but the part about the path of the righteous man.
Oh yeah, I'll have to go check that out again.
I was like, holy, and then I paused it, and I was like, oh shit,
that's funny. Yeah, I totally missed that. So Fury's been data mining Hydra's files and says that there's a lot of rats that didn't go down with the ship. He wants Cap and Sam to go with him to Europe to do some stuff about that, I guess. They both turn him down. Then Black Widow shows up. She wants Steve to bang Sharon Carter for her. She suggests that he ask Sharon Carter out.
Right.
Then she gives him some intel on Bucky / the Winter Soldier. And Cap says he's going to go after him. And Sam says he's going to help. Yeah. And I forget. After this, at the beginning of the Civil War, it starts with Crossbones, right? Rumlow.
Yes. Yep.
And then you get the Tony Stark Expo thingy or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's doing the hologram thing, the hologram therapy.
Barf.
Yeah.
Barf.
Yes, the barf.
Yes.
But so I guess what I'm like, I forget how that ties. Like, do Sam and Cap go after Bucky to try to find him? I don't think so, right? Because the Bucky gets captured.
No, they are looking for him.
Okay.
But then like Black Panther's dad.
Oh yeah.
Dies.
Oh right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then he's the main suspect.
Okay. All right. Sorry. We'll get back to this movie now. But I'm super pumped for Civil War now. It's not that far away.
It's my favorite of the three.
I'm wondering.
Even though this is really good.
I'm wondering. Yeah. I'm like, this is really good. I'm wondering. It could still be. Up until we watched this, I would have said definitely Civil War is my favorite of the three. But having rewatched this one so recently, I don't know. We'll see.
And then for this one, it's just such a good ending. It actually took me longer to do this movie because I couldn't take notes because I could just watch in like good chunks and I'm like, oh man, I gotta write something for my like notes and stuff. But like, damn, the Russo brothers, they know what they're doing, man.
They nailed it.
Yeah, they really did.
So we get credits. They were really cool credits too. It was like this spy espionage stuff all done in silhouette. I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. We get a mid-credit stinger. We have the scepter from the Avengers. It's at some other Hydra facility. Recall that S.H.I.E.L.D. had possession of it at the end of the Avengers. And since S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra, that's how it ends up wherever this place is. And then, I don't know, there's some scientists talking about whatever and says something about the twins. And then the camera pans and you see Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. And they're not looking too stable. They're basically in, what do they call it? In the insane asylum, the rubber rooms, right?
The little rooms.
But it's Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson who played those parts in the Avengers Age of Ultron. And like, I thought this was cool and totally fine, but of all the movies we've covered so far, I feel like this one they probably could have skipped the mid-credit stinger. It didn't need it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they put that there for Avengers because of who.
Yeah. Well, he directed that mid-credit scene actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So that fits.
So then we get a post-credit stinger, and it's the Smithsonian exhibit, and Bucky's there, and he's checking it out and he sees his own story there. So he's kind of starting to maybe believe that there are some lies have been told to him maybe. I thought that was a much more fitting stinger for this movie.
Makes me.
And then we get, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was hearing the Mulan song about that reflection song in Mulan where she's like, who is that girl I see?
Sing a little for me. Sing a little bit of that.
No.
But then we get, after all that, we see Captain America will return in the Avengers Age of Ultron. So now, changes we'd like to have seen. I would have liked, did you want to go first here? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I would have liked to have seen some brief scenes that at least hint at explaining some of the gaps in the movie, like how they got the Falcon suit from Fort Meade.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Cap gets his old suit back from the Smithsonian, and they just show it missing from the Smithsonian in what's his name?
What do you call it? Stan Lee.
Yes, Stan Lee. Thank you. Jeez. And he's like, I'm gonna get fired, right?
Yeah.
That was enough explanation. Okay. The mouse hole, that was kind of a MacGuffin there.
Right.
I feel like when Nick Fury was in Cap's apartment, maybe he could have said something along the lines of, like, I only escaped because of whatever. And when Hill had one later, like, I don't even think they showed that she had it. Right.
Right.
And Black Widow going undercover as Holly, impersonating her.
Right.
With that mask. It would have been good if, like, when they were all planning what to do in Nick Fury's little secret hideout or whatever,
right?
He could have given her the I guess it's called a photostatic veil. Yeah. He could have given her that at the time and not necessarily explained what it was, but like, it's something. It's gonna come in, it's gonna be important later, right?
Even if she was wearing the same dress and stuff.
Yeah,
while they were talking about the plan.
Yes, exactly. Right? Something like that where it's like not going to be super obvious, so it doesn't ruin the surprise later. But it's not like this total weird thing out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
But despite all that, the movie is so good. It keeps your interest. Like, I really didn't notice these problems until this time when I was like forcing myself to write down notes and like stopping it all the time. The movie it doesn't let up. It keeps your interest. And so it's really easy to just let these things go when you're watching it, even after multiple times.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have minded like another 10 minutes just to seal those up,
Yeah. I think the only one of those that I wish that they'd address is the mouse hole thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, like the Falcon suit and the Falcon suit in general, and then like think the Mission Impossible 3 moment. Yeah. I was okay ignoring them. But the mouse hole one was a kind of annoying to me.
I think the Falcon suit one was definitely the most forgivable.
Yeah.
So I want to do one more thing here. This doesn't really affect my rating or anything, but I don't know if you saw this. I don't know where you watched it, but I'm going to put this in the, I'll put this into the actual MP3 file. So if you have a compatible player, you'll see this artwork. But I watched it on iTunes, and when you're going to go watch the movie, like there's artwork that it shows you, and it's the Winter Soldier, and he's unmasked, and you can see that it's him. And like, if you've never watched it before, it's already ruined for you.
Oh man!
And on top of that, his eyes are like spray painted black, like Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner, right?
Right.
But he never.
It's not like that in the movie.
Not once, not one frame. Yeah. It's also like this on the movie poster, but he's like way in the background. So I don't know. That was a weird choice.
It's funny. He looks kind of like Ultimate Warrior from the WWF.
Yes. Yes. That's funny. Okay, so let's move on to the ranking. You want to go first on final thoughts?
Do
you have any additional final thoughts?
I don't really have any final thoughts. Just that this is where I feel like the MCU hit its stride, and it really started it hit 60 miles an hour, and it was ready to jam.
Yeah, agreed.
And I know that I was really excited for Civil War after this, or Captain America 3 after this. And then when I heard it was Civil War, because I know that story arc from the comic books, I was really, really hyped for Civil War.
Yeah.
And still it didn't disappoint me, even though I was already overly
your
hyped
expectations
for it.
Were so high. Nice.
Yeah, even though which is kind of crazy, because like, how often does that actually happen? Like having really high expectations. Yeah,
almost never.
And so I think of all the trilogies in the MCU, this is to me like the best 3,
for sure,
hands down.
Yeah.
And this second one was so good.
Yeah. I think it's almost unfair to the 8 movies before how good this one is. At several levels of improvement in storytelling and plot and character development. It's like an entirely different genre. It's not really a superhero movie. It's like this fun, entertaining, exciting spy thriller, espionage movie that happens to have some superheroes in it. Again, it goes a little over the top, but so does like Mission Impossible, right?
Yep.
So Rotten Tomatoes has it at 90% for the critics, 92% for the audience, which puts it around Avengers and Iron Man, according to their ratings.
Huh.
Where would you think you would rank it?
I thought I was gonna agonize over it, but like after this, it's number one for me now.
Yay!
Everything. Yeah.
Hey!
I looked at Iron Man 1 at the top, and I was like, it's better than Iron Man 1.
Yes, it's better than Iron Man 1. It's not even close.
Yeah.
You know, and it might be close if we had put Captain America above Iron Man, like Captain America, the first Avenger, the first Captain America movie.
Right.
If we had put that above Iron Man like I wanted to, it might have been closer for me, but yeah. Oh, sweet. Yeah.
But to me, it's so much better than First Avenger, even though I loved First Avenger.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just saying it might have been close. It would have been closer.
Yeah.
Anyways,
okay.
But I love Iron Man. Like I'm not crapping on that movie at all. Awesome. All right. So Infinity Saga Trivial Pursuit Poker will just be for fun.
Sweet. Your turn.
It is my turn to bid first. So let's read these and then we'll edit this part out. I gotta write some of these down because I'm gonna choke under the pressure. Okay. I'm gonna go with 3. I'm gonna bid 3.
Damn, that's more than I have.
Really?
Sweet. Yeah.
Well, is it one more than you have? I'm pretty sure you have 2 of these.
I only have 2 that I know for sure. I'm blanking on like a few that I feel like I should know.
I have 2 that I think are for sure, and then I have some guesses for some of these, and then I don't know. I might be gambling a lot on that first one because it's multiple choice. Let me send you the answers.
Are you texting it to me?
Yeah, I gotta find it first though, as usual. Here we go.
It's upside down.
Yeah, well, that's so that I can't accidentally read it.
Yeah. Okay.
I try to make this fair. All right.
Cool. Oh, you want me to read the question and you can give your answer or your answer / guess?
Yes.
All right. Thanos decimated Xandar how long ago before destroying the Asgardian refugee ship? A week, a month, or a year?
I feel like a year is too long.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a week.
You are right, actually.
All right, sweet.
That's 1 down. What item does Darcy describe as the toaster-looking thing?
I mean, Mjolnir is the only thing I can think of that's even remotely toaster-shaped, but I feel like it's not. It's probably some scientific equipment, but I don't know what that would be, so I'll just say Mjolnir.
It's the phase meter, which I have no idea what that was. Was it? That must have been Thor 2.
I have no idea.
Yeah, same here. What is the name of the character who commands the 10 rings in the film Iron Man?
The Mandarin.
You know, I thought that too, but
wait, hold on. Then it must be Guy Pearce's character. What's his name? Aldrich Killian. Is it also not it?
You're wrong on both of them. No,
what?
The answer is Raza.
Oh, in Iron Man. Sorry, not Iron Man 3. I was thinking Iron Man 3. That's the problem. Yeah.
Oh,
no, that's right.
That's right.
Too. That's a good question. That's tricky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, who's Raza?
That was one of the ones I thought I knew for sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you still have was the Thanos one that you knew for sure for 2?
No,
or
it was not.
Guessing? Okay, so you're still safe, right?
Well, I said 3. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You might still guess some of these.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the name of the Black Panther's airship?
I've got no clue on that one. And I don't even know what to guess. I don't know.
Don't say something racist.
I know. I don't want to guess.
No, I don't know. The Royal Talon.
Yeah, there's no way I would have come up with that.
Yeah, I didn't know either. This one I suspect you know. What city did Ultron lift up into the air to create a global extinction level event?
This is the other one that I was sure of. Sokovia.
100% right. All right, the last one. This is actually the one that I did know.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. What mode did Tony Stark put his armor in when he investigates Baron Strucker's castle?
Oh, I also misread it. I thought it just said, what did Tony Stark put in his armor?
Oh, no.
What
then you can still get it.
Yeah. What mode did Tony Stark put in? Oh, is this the beginning of Avengers 2?
Yes. When he gets the vision.
Yeah. Autopilot?
Yep.
I don't know. Stealth mode? I don't know.
Do you have a final answer?
I don't. I would say, I don't know.
It's a sentry mode.
Oh, all right. So I only got 2, so I lose. Cool.
Hey, these are hard ones.
Yeah. That I was really kind of impressed by that Iron Man question, the 10 rings, because I immediately thought Iron Man 3.
Same here.
Yeah, but yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the Mandarin. I know that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's Raza?
That's why they word it that way.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a good one.
That was good. I'm glad it didn't matter.
I'm glad we were in agreement that
the
Winter Soldier rules.
It does.
That's going to be a hard one. Next one.
Yeah, I think I forgot to say that makes Captain America the Winter Soldier our new number 1.
It does.
All right. That's it for Captain America the Winter Soldier. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy from August 1st, 2014. That was only a 4-month wait. We've got a streak of good movies for a while here. I think we're in pretty good shape till at least the end of phase 3, probably. Avengers 2 still up in the air a little bit, and Doctor Strange I'm not too sure on, but we're not talking Iron Man 3 level of bad for anything.
I was gonna say it's a good streak, but then it's gonna be rough for us because we're definitely gonna start having a jockeying for what.
It's gonna be hard to rank
the order. Yeah, the order of ranking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So real quick, we got Majors emailed again. It was a lot shorter this time. He just said, I haven't finished listening to Thor: The Dark World episode yet, but I did enjoy your reference to the Russian cosmonaut in Armageddon. This is how we fix problem in the Russian space station. That's a quote. I enjoy that movie way too much. That was his entire email, which is great. Thank you for the email. But that was your comment, right, George?
Yeah.
After Jane was banging the tricorder to fix it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie. I really didn't know what you were talking about. You said that. And I almost cut it out because I was like, I don't know, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. So somebody got it. And now I get it. Now I understand.
Right.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at absolutelythebestpodcast@gmail.com. Don't let Majors hog the whole email section. You can join our Discord. It's real. There's a link in the show notes. And we also have links there to our socials and a couple ways you can help support the show if you want. The best thing you can do would be to leave a review. And please help us spread the word. Tell your friends, tell a badass, and tell a badass. By the way, it was only 9 badasses. George.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for listening. And have a great day.
Sweet.
Absolutely the Best Podcast is a production of Audio Johnny, a subsidy of Corporation Johnny. Corporation Johnny. If it exists, we own it.
Hello, listeners still listening. Most people don't make it this far, but you did. And you're the one I want to talk to. What we could really use is a few reviews. Whatever platform you're listening on, if you can go, give us a good rating, that's also helpful. But a review to really help the podcast get noticed would be awesome. Much appreciated. You're the best. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.